The magnificent new home of Welsh rugby has prepared itself for an exciting new era in the European game. It's Wales against France here at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff on the day that Italy at last make it the Six Nations Championship.
Going to score. It's a lovely try. It's got a hat-trick. Superb play. Wyatt back inside, and it's a lovely try for the fullback. Now a chance here for Deathwood. Deathwood in at the post. It's a try. McCartney's going to score, and it's a wonderful try. Something's gotta give. Something's gotta give. This means for Scotland, Bill.
Yes, it's a wonderful afternoon of live international rugby here on Grandstand. At 2 o'clock, live coverage of Italy against Scotland in Rome, and that's followed by Wales against the World Cup finalist France here in the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. Inspirational surroundings, and Jonathan Davis, Wales need some inspiration this afternoon. Tough start for them.
Yeah, it's a big game for Wales. They've got a huge pack, the French, and I think coming off the World Cup, they've got regained confidence, and of course all their clubs are doing well in the European Cup, so they're looking forward to this game today because they've lost in the last two occasions against Wales.
France World Cup finalists, of course, but after the tribulations for others in the World Cup, what's the importance of the next 2 months for European rugby in general?
I think it's the stage where the Northern Hemisphere players can show off their skills to the world. Again, in the World Cup, the Southern Hemisphere sides took the honours, and I think this is the showpiece for Northern Hemisphere rugby. We have to perform and have to have exciting games.
The other match this afternoon, of course, is at Twickenham, England against Ireland. So much pressure surrounding England at the moment.
Yes, especially Clive Woodward as well. All his experienced players are injured, and it's a big game for them, and I think Ireland could knock them off today.
But our coverage will start with Italy against Scotland at 2 o'clock. How do you welcome Italy to what is now the Six Nations Championship?
Well, a home game is nice to start for them, and I think it's a game they have to win because it is going to get difficult. I think it's very similar in the last couple of seasons. It's like a cup game, the FA Cup for them, where they play the other nations once in a while, and they can raise their game now. They have to sustain it for the duration of the Six Nations.
Well, this is Grandstand's first visit to the Millennium Stadium, and it really is extraordinary. But what do you make of the playing surface that's moved in and out on these 7,000 pallets? What about the quality of this playing surface today?
Well, there's always been questions about it and the way they bring the pallets in and out, but you can't honestly say until the first scrummage happens, and if it cuts up, well, hopefully they've used the roof because it always rains in Wales, so hopefully the roof has been closed this week. But I think the service looks okay at the moment, and it'll be an open, exciting game. Okay,
so the Millennium Stadium is making its championship debut. So too is the Flaminio Stadium in Rome, and there the similarities just about end. The attendance, we understand, in Rome will be around about 20,000 for Italy's opening game against Scotland, but you can see full live coverage of the match from 2 o'clock here on Grandstand. The atmosphere, though, will be absolutely tremendous here in Cardiff. Wales against France, one of the key games of the championship. It kicks off at 4, and once again full live coverage on Grandstand this afternoon. And from 1:15 we anticipate what's going to happen with previews and with features. We'll be sizing up the task of the new Italian coach. Eddie Butler has been with the New Zealander Brad Johnston, who has taken on that responsibility. And a new coach for France will meet Bernard Laporte, who's imposing a whole new philosophy on the unpredictable French. And a new captain for Wales. Jonathan has been talking with his old friend David Young, who takes over the leadership from Rob Howley. And that was a slightly unexpected move, Jonathan. What sort of extra influence will David Young bring to the captaincy?
I think it's experience is one thing. He's been around for a while, but again, it's going to be difficult captaining from the scrum. He's going to head down all game, but again, the decision making will be done from the half back. So I think it's just the experience, and hopefully Rob Howley can regain his form.
Well, let's show you where all our previews and features and our live coverage fits into the programme this afternoon. All the build-up from 1:15, following Football Focus. Italy against Scotland, that kicks off at 2 o'clock. Wales against France at 4 o'clock, both matches live. And our football service will fit in around the international rugby, bringing you results and scores as soon as we can. Final score itself a little later as we go on until 6:10 this evening to fit it all in. And there's yet more sport on BBC Two, a lot more, including tennis. And after the heroics of Tim Henman yesterday, Great Britain's Davis Cup tie in the Czech Republic is tensely poised at 1-1. Our live coverage of the doubles in Ostrava will be at 2 o'clock, and that follows racing from Uttoxeter from 12:35, all on BBC Two this afternoon. But on BBC One we have international rugby, and we also have Ray Stubbs, and he's got Football Focus.
Good afternoon. As each week goes by, the momentum of this football season is picking up pace. We've plenty to discuss in Focus today. Without firing on all cylinders, champions Manchester United are back on top in the Premiership. Liverpool are in the chasing pack, but Gerard Houllier is short of firepower. For today's game with Leeds, it's 4th against 2nd at Anfield. Sunderland playing Newcastle in the big North East derby. We meet their goalkeeper, Thomas Sorensen. First Division Ipswich keep knocking on the Premier League door. Will this be their year? We report on a new initiative designed to increase the opportunities for disabled footballers. And Mark is here with plenty of opinions as ever. And also on today's programme, strong words from Filbert Street at the end of a controversial but successful week for Leicester City. We look back at all the FA Cup goals and what got into Alan Shearer, who gave his goal-scoring celebration something of a makeover. But first, if anyone wondered whether Manchester United would be more relaxed about this season's Premiership title race, think again. 5 titles in 7 years, never finishing outside the top 2, is the extent of their dominance since the Premier League was formed. And over the last 7 days, they've demonstrated on no uncertain terms that a 6th success is their target. Ian Payne reports on how Manchester United have returned to the top of the table.
The previous weekend, Middlesbrough had travelled to Anfield and emerged with a point. At Old Trafford, they would have settled for the same, but their task was made much harder when Christian Ziege was sent off. It was his second clash of the game with David Beckham and left Borough even more on the back foot. However, to the surprise of a new record Premiership crowd of over 60,000, the magical Juninho almost scored single-handedly. Completely surrounded, he managed to sow his way into the area where Jaap Stam tackled him. Whether fair or foul, referee Andy D'Urso pointed to the spot. On replay, it seemed as though Stam did get the ball, but Juninho as well. Incidentally, that was the first penalty given against United in the league at Old Trafford for 6 years. Cue rage. The referee was surrounded by incensed United players. Sir Alex Ferguson even publicly rebuked his players a few days later, but the referee did not include it in his report, and no further action will be taken. So after a lengthy delay, Juninho took the kick and Mark Bosnich saved it. Now I really am number 1. And to make matters worse for Borough, before the end they succumbed to a late and rather soft goal. While one Australian keeper was a hero at one end, the other, well, if not a villain, will be disappointed with that one. A few days after going top, United were at Sheffield Wednesday, home of the manager of the month. It's a ground with a poor record for Manchester United. We'd have taken anything, said Sir Alex Ferguson, so he must have been thrilled with the 3 points.
Jonk. Now Hinchcliffe, Sibon, and Wim Jonk. Oh, Bosnich seemed to be surprised by the power of the shot. Alexanderson was certainly crisply struck by Jonk. Beckham to take the kick. And there's Sheringham! Good save by Cernicek. Very quick reaction. Silvestre, Giggs, Sheringham, back on for Giggs, and look at the time and the space that he's got. Sheringham's continued his run. There's Keane! How on earth did Cernicek keep that one out? York, Giggs, that's a lovely ball, and here's Tenny Sheringham. It's been coming. Cernicek beaten at long last by a goal of some quality. The pass from Giggs was incisive, and Sheringham's first touch set up the angle nicely. Irwin hoisted in for Sheringham. Now Beckham, Sheringham again, just clipped the outside of the post.
I was looking for a sensible, good performance rather than a brilliant one, to make sure we've got a foot in the game and we get into the flow of it. And it was nothing really happened, I didn't think, in the first half. You know, the second half it all did happen.
I think the first half was probably the worst 45 minutes we've played this year. But for some reason we stepped up the pace in the second half, got a little bit of momentum going, and carried on from there all the way to the end.
It's such a hard week, but you know, if you go back 2 years ago, we're 12 points ahead of Arsenal, albeit we got a lot of injuries in a bad time of the year, but nonetheless those 12 points soon disappeared. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. We've got more experience now, and if we keep free of injuries, I think we have a chance.
So Manchester United lead Leeds by 3 points and plus 15 in terms of goal difference. They stand 6 points and plus 8 over Arsenal. Liverpool have 9 points to make up, Sunderland 12, Chelsea 13. Although given the importance of the Champions League, you can argue that finishing in the top 3 is a primary target for those clubs. Mark, Manchester United were saying they're not firing on all cylinders, but do you see signs that they're starting to click into place?
Well, they aren't firing on all cylinders, and I think you must remember that, you know, pre-season training is designed to get you to really fire on all cylinders come kind of March, April. They are probably the two most important months of the season. They come back from Brazil. I suggest that the break which they've had in Brazil will actually kick in probably sometime in March when they've got the 4 Champions League games. They're not playing particularly well. They keep winning. That's a problem, isn't it? They should have been beaten by Arsenal, who I thought were the better side, but they hung on, got a draw. You know, Middlesbrough last week should have scored the penalty, possibly beaten them again. They win 1-0. I think it shows a sign of mentally strong and very, very physically strong, and a massive squad as well.
When Roy Keane got the posse up and pursued the referee, do you think we've seen the last of that now? Well,
hopefully. I mean, Alex Ferguson had a few things to say on Monday morning about it, and quite rightly so, because if that had happened in the Champions League, Roy Keane would have gone, certainly away from home. And I think also, you know, the thing about the referees, I think we mentioned Paul Durkin's contribution to the Arsenal game the other week, how very, very good he was at letting things go. Well, obviously Andy D'Urso tried to do that. Well, if that's going to happen, that's great. The players have to meet the referees halfway. All of a sudden the players can't have the cake and eat it. They can't sort of have it where the referee is very, very lenient. He's prepared to talk to them, he's prepared to have a laugh and a smile with them and let things go. They themselves, the players, have a responsibility to also act and behave properly.
Well, big day today. The top 6 all play. Manchester United are home to Coventry. Arsenal are at Bradford. Second place 4th, Liverpool play Leeds. In the North East, it's the big derby, Sunderland against Newcastle, and a London derby too, Spurs against Chelsea. 9 games in all on the fixture sheet today. Great action. And with the Championship race and Champions League places in mind, today's game at Anfield between Liverpool and Leeds is of great significance. Tester for both clubs. Leeds well aware they have to keep close to Manchester United. Liverpool have to keep picking up points, but without the services of 2 key strikers. With Michael Owen's injury problems a continued cause for concern, and no date set for the return of Robbie Fowler, it's no surprise there's a degree of frustration surrounding Liverpool's bid to qualify for the Champions League.
I feel frustrated. Their players feel extremely frustrated as well. I imagine our fans must be frustrated. I mean, when you have 2 top quality strikers like Robbie and Michael, they can score between 40 and 50 goals a season
But you're not tempted to go into the transfer market at this time?
No, not for the moment anyway. I mean, there was all sorts of speculations and names. I mean, I imagine the media are doing their job. I mean, they know that Michael Owen is not fit, that Robbie has had an operation, so the first reflex they have is just to put out all sorts of names.
I'm confident that your main two at the moment, Kamara and Maya, they're going to be your front two for the next few weeks?
Oh yes, yeah, they're doing very well. Yeah, no problem.
There's no doubt local eyebrows were raised when the Liverpool manager invested heavily on overseas signings for this campaign. But alongside his foreign legion, Gerard Houllier has turned to local talent.
Young players contributed a lot to the results. I mean, Steven Gerrard is one of them, Jamie Carragher, David Thompson, Danny Murphy, and that's why we're happy that he's decided to stay another 2 years after his contract. And also Dominic Matteo. So I mean, this has been very, very, I would say, significant in our progression.
Is it different being a local lad in the Liverpool side?
Yeah, I think it is a bit. I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of supporters are a lot better than people who come in. A lot of people know you, obviously, but I mean, the lads who come in done well. And we've mixed well, I think. We've done alright, had a difficult start, but in the end, it's not going too bad now, like.
Do you think they give you more of a chance sometimes, the local fans? Do you think they make allowances more because they know you? Or do you think you just take as much stick as anyone else if things don't go well?
Not in that Kemlyn Road, then they don't.
You can hear them shouting, can you?
Oh, hey, every game. No, I don't think so. I mean, if you're doing well, they'll support you, and if you're doing bad, they'll let you know. You know, the fans, they want success, don't they? And they're entitled to it.
Now, Robbie Fowler's a local lad too. Do you accept Michael Owen as being local, or is he just too far away to be classed?
Well, he's from over the water, like Tomo. They're not local lads. They're Birkenhead. It's not local.
It doesn't count?
No, they're not Scousers.
Well, it seems Jamie Redknapp's been here for so long now. Is he an adopted Scouser anyway? Can you?
Yeah, Jamie is, yeah. Jamie's a good lad. He's a Scouser now. We class him as a Scouse. So we class him as a local lad as well, another one.
If you do well in this city, people do respect and they love you.
Very much so. And you said before about the different eras, if you want, the Smithy era and then my era, is we were successful, and it's very, very difficult then for these lads. But because of the talent that we've got, David Thompson, Robbie Fowler, Steven Gerrard, Dominic Matteo, Jamie Carragher, tremendous players and all young lads. So we've got a hell of a chance here. Stevie Gerrard's the youngest one who's coming through, and hopefully with the academy and the investment what's into the academy, there'll be a few more along the lines of like him, and it's great.
Now there's more coming through no doubt as well. Who's the next ones for us to look forward to?
I think young Richie Partridge, John Newby, Neil Armstrong as well. Is it not Neil Armstrong? He was the first man on the moon. Was it Ian Armstrong?
That'd be a giant step for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Well, they've got to calm down, haven't they? I told you.
Calm down.
Those young Liverpool players have done well. They've acquitted themselves well, haven't they?
Very well. Similar to the Manchester United players insofar as most of them have come through together. I certainly think that Steven Gerrard can be a top class player. Currently playing in central midfield, can play in other places or other areas of the team, but I think he's that position for him, I think was one of the main reasons that Gerard Houllier sold Paul Ince to Middlesbrough. Really, because there are times when young players are coming through where you've got to get rid of some of the other ones so they can come through, and I think that certainly happened with Paul Ince and Steven Gerrard.
Can Liverpool score the goals they need just to keep in touch while Messrs Fowler and Owen are away? Well,
you would describe neither Maya nor Kamara as predators, and I'm glad Maya's fit again now, because one thing about Kamara is he's very, very unpredictable, which is great. The only problem with that is when you play up front on your own, you can't afford to be. So now he's got Maya with him, he can get up to his tricks, Kamara. It is a problem maybe that the fact that they aren't kind of natural goal scorers, but the way Liverpool defend now, much better. I think we've seen, whereas last year where they'd lose a game, then maybe draw another 1 or 2 and lose another game, now they bounce back straight away, which obviously is a sign that they're better both defensively. They've got better players. I think they're more professional, and I think obviously it's a good chance for the two forwards to make a real claim as a partnership.
How do you think Leeds will approach this game today? Because they will assume Manchester United will win. So what do they do at Anfield?
Oh, the first thing is they won't worry about Manchester United. Just forget about that. They can play any way you want them to play, Leeds. They can be counter-attacking, they can sit there, they've got loads of pace, as we know. They can hit you on the break, they can dominate games, they can be physical if they want to. If the opposition want to be physical, it's part of their makeup, which makes them a good side and gives them that edge. I should just suggest you with the bit at the moment, they just may be lacking somebody just to control things for them in the central midfield, as we saw against Aston Villa last week in the Cup, where even when they were up front, in front twice, they kind of get caught away insofar as trying to chase the game and win it too early. Sometimes you've just got to sit there and say, right, we're in front, we've won it, let's make sure we win it.
Thanks, Mark. Also on today's fixture sheet is Leicester against Middlesbrough. Congratulations are due to Martin O'Neill's side, who bounced back from the FA Cup exit by winning through to the Worthington Cup final. And coupled with the controversy over ticketing and the trading of insults with Chelsea chairman Ken Bates, it confirmed there's never a dull moment at Filbert Street, as Gary Richardson now reports.
Leicester manager Martin O'Neill understandably didn't mince his words when responding to comments about negative tactics. The accusations coming at the start of a week which saw Leicester reach their 3rd League Cup final in 4 years.
Do you think characters like Ken Bates should make the sort of comments he did?
Ken Bates is Ken Bates, and I think he makes a lot of his comments not only on this but on other subjects with tongue-in-cheek and probably to court controversy. But no, I don't think he should have done, because he really went out of his way to antagonise his visitors last Saturday.
Why do you think he does that?
Last Sunday.
Why do you think he does that?
Well, again, I say it's Ken being Ken. But
it must annoy you, though.
Yes, I think it, and it certainly annoyed the manager and annoyed most Leicester followers.
You were with him last weekend. Did you say anything to him?
Yes, I did. I mentioned I noticed his comments, and reminded him that in the previous match when we'd been at Chelsea, we'd taken them apart and all but won the match.
Yeah, we had sort of criticism from quite a few quarters, and it was very unjust, really. So, but if anything, it served to spur us on a little touch extra. Not that we needed it anyway. Semi-final to semi-final, whatever, and we were up for it. But if anything, it stoked us up a touch. But really, I think we've laid that close to rest, really.
Headlines this week have also centred on Leicester's highly talented Emile Heskey.
We constantly hear that you're about to join Liverpool, are you?
Well, I was supposed to join them 2 days ago. I think it was, and I'm still here, so no.
What is the news on that, though? Are you a Leicester City player for the foreseeable future?
I don't know any news on that, really, I'm just a Leicester City player now, and I just want to do well for them.
You want to stay here, though, do you?
I want to stay here. That's a tough question to ask, isn't it?
What do you think? You do want to stay here?
Yeah, I've always said I wanted to stay here, who knows in the future where I'd be, but at the minute I want to stay here.
Yeah. Do you think next season you might be elsewhere, then?
Who knows?
Stan Collymore could join Leicester in the next 48 hours. Leicester seemingly taking a chance on a player who's had his share of problems at the likes of Nottingham Forest, Liverpool and Aston Villa. So why do Leicester think they can tame him?
I think his career wouldn't survive another failure. And at the same time, I think Martin is probably the best manager around who might be able to control him and blend him into his team and give him firm management.
Also during this coming week, a big decision for Muzzy. Is it England or Turkey as an international player?
Well, I've spoken to the Turkish manager, Mustafa Denizli, and he seems very keen on me playing for Turkey in the Euro 2000. It's a great honour to be selected to play for Turkey. It's something I want to think very seriously about, something I can't just refuse. And it looks, to be honest, I think I might even play for Turkey at this very moment.
Have you had any contact at all from England?
No, I haven't, no. So that's all more reason, I think, with the Turkey thing, is something I just can't refuse. So it's not 100%, but it's a very good chance that maybe I will play for Turkey.
When will you make your final decision?
Probably sometime next week after the Middlesbrough game, get it out of the way, and give me time to sit down and speak to my family about it and see where we can go from there.
What does your dad want you to do?
Well, my dad's a Turk, so he wants me to play for Turkey.
I think he's made his mind up. So many messages coming out of Filbert Street. First of all, Emil Heskey, if you're Leicester City fans today, might think from that the end of the season will be the end of a chapter. Would you agree?
Might not even be the end of the season if you listen to a lot of people. I think he'll leave, Ray. I don't think there's any great doubt about that. And I'm sure when he signed his last contract that was part of the deal. So, and I'm pretty certain that he will go to Liverpool. But as far as Leicester are concerned, 10, 12 million. I mean, the way they buy players and make it a success out of the players that they buy, you might get 3 or 4 players for that.
Well, Martin O'Neill has achieved most things. Now he's taking on the ultimate. Can he actually sort Stan Collymore out?
Only time will tell. I thought John Elsom's comment there was very, very tangible insofar as if Stan Collymore signs for Leicester and he fails at Leicester, where can he go? And, you know, as much as you can help Stan Collymore, and I'm sure that Martin O'Neill will do everything possible to help him, Stan Collymore has to help himself. Outstanding talent, we know all about that, you know, everybody knows what he can do, but he's got to do it. It's got to come from within, and if it doesn't, I'm afraid he's finished. I
think Martin would have a slight glare sometimes. If you stood one-to-one in his office sometimes and things don't go well, I would imagine he's got quite a glare if he fancies it.
Well, but he's also very, very good at making players play, which is basically what you have to do as a manager. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you make them play. If he makes Collymore play, he'll get a knighthood.
Back to the Premiership later. First, let's look back at 3 of last weekend's 5th round FA Cup ties. Leicester's defeat at Chelsea is included, but we start with a cracker played at Villa Park.
He doesn't get in the box enough or score enough goals, said Aston Villa manager John Gregory afterwards, but I think we can be happy tonight. He was talking of Benito Carboni. Before this game, he'd not really made his mark at Villa, but some players just need the lights and the grease paint of the big stage, and he does.
McPhail's corner. Well, Southgate couldn't clear it first time, and Hart! Ian Hart puts Leeds into the lead. Nehiog will be one target for Gareth Barry to aim at. Missed him, Watson heads it down to Carboni! And Villa, against the run of play, have drawn level. McPhail. And McPhail again. And Eric Bakker! Villa are level for just 7 minutes. Well, that was aimed towards Steve Stone and easily cleared by Ian Hart. Carboni. Oh, what about that from Benito Carboni? Well, that must be round about 40 yards out. And Joachim. Woodgate's at his back. Merson might try a shot. And still Merson. Brilliantly done by Paul Merson. And Benito Carboni has his hat-trick.
Another FA Cup meeting and another war of words between these two. Ken Bates called Leicester a kick and rush side. Martin O'Neill called Bates a cretin. Gustavo Poyet just shouted goal. And he was keen to thank the brilliant head of George Weah. Chelsea's second goal was naturally controversial. Surely a foul by Chris Sutton, said Leicester, but he was allowed to cross for another brilliant, spontaneous bit of play from the big librarian, as he was once described. Sutton was in the thick of it again later. Steve Walsh lashed out with a loose elbow, and that means only one thing these days. Leicester down to 10 men. Dennis Wise, though, believes in equality, and before the end of the game he'd even things up with another of his needless handballs, his second yellow card of the match, and he knew it. At 10-all, Leicester did have the last word on this windy day in and out of the director's box. Makeshift, if that's the right word, centre forward Matt Elliott showed nice skill to make it 2-1. But it was too late, and O'Neill's army will not be making 2 Wembley visits this season. So, after everything he did at Blackburn, why did Alan Shearer get such fearful abuse at Ewood Park? Rovers fans said in midweek they'd been infuriated by the manner of his departure. He said he was staying, said one. He was even pictured in the local paper wearing our shirt. Next thing, he was gone.
And Shearer has escaped his marker. And Ferguson's flick has put him through. It's Alan Shearer! And here is Matt Jansen, and Harper made a half-hearted attempt to clear the ball. He missed. Jansen scores. Just about quarter of an hour to go, and here's Domi and Shearer. Oh, there is another goal, and it's that man again.
The rest of the FA Cup ties follow later. So could it be 3 finals in a row for Newcastle? For certain, it'll be a cup final atmosphere away at Sunderland today, who have taken 1 point from the last 15. And after losing to their great rivals in the league game at St James's Park, Newcastle's Toon Army expect things to get evened up. Not if Thomas Sorensen has got anything to do with it. Sunderland's Danish goalkeeper is concentrating on doing his bit by keeping a clean sheet. Damien Johnson has been to meet him.
Solid, imposing and impenetrable. Commanding performances from goalkeeper Thomas Sorensen have helped Sunderland climb to 5th spot in the Premiership. The man tipped to take over permanently from Peter Schmeichel in goal for Denmark joined Sunderland for £500,000 from Danish club Odense in the summer of 1998. The move to Wearside has proved more successful than he could have imagined. This week he signed a new 4-year contract.
We've been through a couple of bad games, but all in all I think at the start of the season we wouldn't even expect it or believe that we'd be this far, come this far in our first season, and hopefully we can get back on winning terms and hopefully get into Europe next season. But at the end of it all, it's just to stay up. That's the first priority.
Obviously you like the place and you think you can achieve things here.
Yeah, I think Sunderland is a big club, and it's going hopefully even further, and hopefully within a couple of years we can battle away with Manchester United and the other big clubs. And I just want to be a part of that. They've just signed a contract with some of the other big players of the club, and they're looking to bring in a new international stars, hopefully, so we can really be a big force in the Premiership.
How influential was Peter Reid in persuading you to sign this new contract?
Oh, I think Peter Reid is a major part of Sunderland's success, and he was the one who brought me here, and he believed in me. I just got a lot of respect for him. He's a great manager, and a lot of credit to him for bringing Sunderland this far, and hopefully he'll be able to bring it even further.
You remember Peter Reid, of course, as a player with Everton. You've got a long memory, obviously.
I know, yeah, I remember a little grey-haired man running around. No, he used to be a tremendous player. He's still good on the training field. Not as quick as he used to be, but he's still got some skill.
Now, you'll be used coming from Denmark to playing in front of fairly small crowds. What's it like in terms of a change of surroundings, playing at the Stadium of Light?
I think it's only changed for the better. I like big crowds. It makes it more exciting to play. And to be fair, the English football culture is I think one of the best in the world, if not the best. Especially up here with the Sunderland fans are a bit special. They put a lot of heart into it, and they stick behind the team, and they've been really good to me as well. So I'm just enjoying it, and hope I can stay a lot of years in English football.
Last August, Sunderland's win over today's opponents and arch rivals Newcastle hastened Ruud Gullit's departure from St James's Park. That atmospheric evening gave Sorensen a glorious introduction to the North East derby.
Phillips again, and Sunderland have scored. It's 2-1.
It was a amazing night both ways, beating them, and the weather was awful, and so it was a special night for me, just to be in a derby like that, and all the hype around it was just a big thing, and a thing you can definitely learn from, and I'll be looking forward to this weekend. It's those games you want to be playing in.
Well, as for the Newcastle fans, they're still in a state of shock in regard to what happened to England captain Alan Shearer. His 2 goals at Blackburn took his career total to 278, and on 276 occasions the choreography for the goal-scoring celebrations didn't change that much. The young man for Southampton, the ball goes in, the right hand goes up and the index finger. Then for Blackburn, well, we got both hands up now. And then for England, right hand and the left hand, bit of a double shuffle there for Newcastle, back to the right hand. And then the other night, well, suddenly there's the Robin Hood, bow and arrow to celebrate. And then he actually goes crazy and he's done a Klinsmann. Mark, what's happened?
I suggest to you, Ray, that maybe he's rehearsing for today in case he scores against Sunderland, but must be the drugs.
The Blackburn Rovers fans obviously wound him up.
Yeah, well, I was there. I mean, I can't believe that they give him so much abuse. I know one or two of them said, oh, he was going to stay, he was going to do this and he was going to do that. He did a fantastic job for Blackburn. I mean, they won the Premiership, and why people want to boo him when he goes away from home, I don't know, because it just gives him the boost that he wants. He thinks, I'll show you, I'll score against you. Why do they do it? I mean, probably Sunderland will do it again today. He thrives on it until people realise that he does thrive on that kind of booing.
He said the goal-scoring celebrations will be back to normal today. Do we believe him?
If he scores against Sunderland Stadium of Light for Newcastle, no.
Let's wait and see. That's the first half of this week's Focus completed, and here's what's in store for the second half. We visit Pride Park to hear from the Derby County players who aim to do themselves a favour and pile on the agony for Sheffield Wednesday at the same time. Now, losing in the playoffs for the last 3 seasons has hurt Ipswich, but George Burley's side are winding up for another go at cracking promotion into the Premier League. And in part 2 of our FA Cup roundup, we can remind ourselves that in the Cup, you just never know. But first, here's another example of how football can be such a motivating game for all ages, both genders, for everyone. The Football Association is trying to remove any barrier that might prevent people from playing the game. Disabled footballers may have a disadvantage in as much as the individual disability they have, but as England coach Kevin Keegan discovered this week, it's not allowed to get in the way.
Right, you won't score this time, mate. You need to move him a bit further back, it's like being a Farron.
It's not often you see Kevin Keegan in goal, but the England coach took a journey into the unknown for a very special occasion. He was in central London to launch a new FA-backed scheme called Ability Counts, a programme aimed at promoting football for the disabled. With a little help from Shaka Hislop, Keegan passed on some tips of the trade to a group of disabled youngsters who proved to be a more than willing audience. Being in the firing line is something that every England coach gets used to, but on this occasion, Keegan was more than happy to be the fall guy and keen to spread the word about a programme that he believes will benefit the disabled community.
How we can help them is just by making people aware. I mean, that's what, I suppose we've got to do. But when you really look inside that, as I have, I've worked 2 or 3 times now with this scheme, you actually see that not only is it a great idea from the point of view of sponsors getting involved and channeling certain funds that way, but it's the kids, they have got some ability and they do want to improve. And actually, when you look at 1 or 2 of them this morning, yeah, they have a little problem with the balance, but it doesn't bother them. You look at them and think, wow.
One of the main problems for disabled footballers is access to regular matches. Ability Counts aims to put that right by providing development days at league clubs around the country and providing coaching and football matches for all types of disability. Money will also be spent on identifying players for regional and national squads because, as the England coach can testify, disability doesn't mean no ability.
We've already had the centre forward and captain of the England amputee team down to a coaching session. This guy was just tremendous, and the players didn't know when he came. They just thought he'd got a bad leg. And when he took his leg off, they got quite a shock. When I told them he was going to train with us, I could see them looking at me and thinking, you know, how? But they knew within 5 minutes what I meant, you know, and he was just tremendous.
Richard Wright certainly won't forget Steve Johnson in a hurry, the amputee World Footballer of the Year.
I can't wait to, you know, get involved with the, you know, the development days and the training days. You know, I'm really looking forward to it. This is the best thing that's happened for disabled people in football-wise ever, really. You know, it's really good.
Having spent a day with England, Johnson was keen to find out about the next squad for the Argentina game, and the coach was keen to oblige, hinting at the odd change.
There are 1 or 2 players who since the last game have pushed their claims. Secondly, we have lost 1 or 2 players. I mean, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, it won't be available, and you know, Stuart Pearce won't be back from that injury yet. So there are 2 or 3 concerns, but I won't do a major reshuffle because we're getting towards a major championship, and you know, we've got to start putting pretty much a set sort of side around with a little bit of experimentation allowed within that.
That's in the future, but for now Keegan is happy to publicise a scheme that starts at Manchester United later this month.
There's got to be more interaction between not just the FA and the top players in this country, but all the clubs. And I think the clubs are trying very hard. I think if you look at the gumph on this, if you like, documentation, 98% of clubs have taken it on board already. I mean, I don't know who the 2% are, but I'd like to know. They should take it on too.
And Sue Thurl reporting. For more details on that new initiative, you can call 0161 247 5294. Let's just check on the situation in the Bank of Scotland Premier League. From today's 3 games, Celtic against Hearts has to be a home win for John Barnes' team, because league leaders Rangers are showing no signs of letting up, as Dundee United discovered in midweek.
Is the Scottish title race looking over by February? The midwinter break doesn't appear to have made any difference to things. Rangers continue to win imperiously, this time at Tannadice. Tony Vidmar got the first, after United keeper Alan Coombe had failed to hold on to it. The ball definitely crossing the line. The second goal also came from a corner on the right. This time keeper Coombe missed it completely. Vidmar claimed it again, but it was in fact an own goal by David Partridge. In the second half, there were 2 more goals for the champions, the first coming on the left this time, and Rod Wallace guiding home a lovely header. The fourth and final goal came from Neil McCann. He was first to it after Dundee United had again had the chance to clear it.
So Rangers' lead is 9 points. It's level on games played. So at the least, Celtic are having to win both remaining Old Firm games to give themselves a chance of the title. At the bottom, Aberdeen and Kilmarnock have cause for concern at this stage. But pride of place in terms of reviewing what's going on in Scotland must go to First Division Clydebank, with their league record reading played 23, won 0, drawn 4, lost 19, having conceded 52 goals, after losing their manager to the team they share a ground with. After a gate early in the season of 27, the Bankies went up for the cup. They beat Stirling Albion 1-0. Fraser Wishart, the goal-scoring hero, so they're on the road to Hampden. But in the meantime, in today's league game with second-place Dunfermline, they can start to peg back the 19 points they need to beat the drop. Good luck, boys. Back to the FA Carling Premiership, and a check on the bottom of the table shows that Sheffield Wednesday have to return to their January form of 2 league wins and a draw, form that won the Manager of the Month award for Danny Wilson. Bottom of the table, Watford are at Villa. Bradford play Arsenal. Glenn Hoddle picks his first Southampton side for a home game with West Ham. Wednesday are at Derby today, and the league table speaks for itself as to the importance of the result to both clubs. Ivan Gaskell sought opinion from the Derby camp.
Derby's 2-0 win at Hillsborough back in August offered few clues to the troubled times to come. During a bleak midwinter, pickings were thin, but thanks to their New Year's resolution, 2000 has been brighter and so far unbeaten.
I don't think there was much wrong with the players we had. I think we just needed maybe a bit of a change around. You know, and confidence is back now, so we're starting to play a bit better football now. You know, it just seemed, whereas at the start of the season we thought, oh, we'd go down and think, oh, here we go again. But you know, now it's you know, keep our heads up and go for it. Derby drafted in a multinational rescue party. From Scotland, Craig Burley.
From Holland, Georgie Kinkladze returned, and Branko Strupar ferried in from Belgium. The mission they chose to accept to help engineer Derby's escape from the Premiership's danger zone. So far, so good.
I think at times a manager's got to sit down and think about bringing in new players if it's not happening, and results were hard to come by, so he decided to, and he was lucky enough that I think the board gave him a few quid to spend, and he spent it. Fortunately for me, I was one of the players and I was delighted to come, but I think it's given it a little bit of zest, a little bit of freshness, and more competition for places. We've got guys coming back from injury as well, so all of a sudden there's more competition for places, and now you're looking at it over your shoulder. You've got to play well to stay in the team, but I think the most important thing is not who's playing, but just how many points Derby can get before now and the end of the season.
Branko Strupar made an historic impact. Here's the first Premiership goal of the new millennium. He added a second to sink relegation rivals Watford. For Derby's fans, Branko a super Strupar.
For me, it's more than one goal. It's first goal in the Premier League for me, first goal in the Millennium, and we win against Watford. Unbelievable. I never forget.
Georgie Kinkladze keeps his own counsel, doesn't say too much, gets on with it. What's he been like to work with, and what's your assessment of him now?
Yeah, well, I didn't see Georgie too many times when I was down before, and obviously he's been away for a while, and he's came here obviously with a big reputation, but also he was short of fitness because he hadn't been playing at Ajax, and he's been working very hard, and the staff here have been working him hard on his fitness, and possibly looking now more in contention to play regular. And obviously you watch him in training and he's got all the skills in the world, so no, he's obviously a quality player, and he's somebody who can bring a different part of the game to Derby County. You know, you need all different kinds of players, and he's one of them, so the longer it goes he works at his fitness, I'm sure he'll have a big part to play.
Among Derby's cosmopolitan squad, promising players from just down the road too. Barely out of short trousers, Malcolm Christie was plucked from non-league Nuneaton and scored 2 goals in his first full game at Middlesbrough. The result, a 4-1 win and some bigger names left in the shade.
I've been here almost a year and a half. I've seen players come, players go, and I've always been around the fringes of the team, and it was good to break through into it, and being a part of what we've got here with quality players, international players, it's really good. You know, hopefully I can be a big part of the Derby County's future.
You've set yourself quite a standard, haven't you?
Oh, I have, yeah, but I feel I can strive to that, you know, standards I've set myself and higher. You know, I was a little bit disappointed not to play against Coventry, but that's football. You've got to take your decisions. The manager's made his decisions, and you know, I have to accept that. But I've just got to keep my head down in training, working hard, and I'll get in the team again hopefully, and I'll produce what I know I'm capable of.
Mark, do you see signs that Derby are starting to assemble a squad that can move away from trouble?
The starting, Ray, I think they're still very much deeply in trouble, and I think probably the key for their survival would be the fitness of Kinkladze. They'll obviously be doing extra work on him. If they get him fit, he's a kind of player certainly you could unleash at home, and you can take a bit more of a gamble who can win you the games, which I think probably some of the clubs at the bottom of the table don't have.
The debate about how many overseas players come to the fore again. Lenny Johansson, the boss man at UEFA, is suggesting that football should be a special case, and the European Union say, well, you can only use 6 overseas players.
Yeah.
That would completely change European law, wouldn't it?
It would change the law. I don't think it will happen. I think it should. I think it would benefit certainly the national teams and also younger players coming through, but I don't think there's absolutely any chance that will happen.
But what happens with England, Scotland, Ireland and Welsh players again?
It's all ifs, buts and maybes, but you will not change the European legislation of the law. There's no way. Even Lennart Johansson can't do that.
Time for part 2 of our FA Cup roundup now. The 3 second division clubs were the real underdogs in the 5th round last weekend. Didn't work out for all of them, but it did for one.
After dumping out Premiership strugglers Bradford at home, Gillingham then did the same to Sheffield Wednesday in front of Southampton's new managerial partnership of Hoddle and Gorman. The second division side had a struggle though and turned things around in the second half.
That was Alexanderson to De Bilder. Sibon in the centre. Deflection there. Oh, and Sibon! Oh, and it's gone in, maybe, off Pennock. Sibon starts the celebrations for Sheffield Wednesday. And that's broken for Thompson. In the centre, Saunders here. Jumps for Gillingham. Oh, he's got it! The substitute has done it. Mark Saunders has equalised for Gillingham. And Saunders is there again, so is Butters. And it headers back in, and it's there! And it's Thompson! It's Thompson this time! And Gillingham scored twice in 2 minutes! That's Southall! Oh! Unbelievable! Nicky Southall has made it 3-1!
For Charlton, promotion is the priority, the cup is for pride. With the First Division Manager of the Month award in the pipeline, Alan Kirbishley's studious approach continues to pay off, as did his team's adventurous attitude at Highfield Road.
Well played by Norman, and here's Rousseau! Coventry City lead. That's a nice little header by Keane. This is McAllister. Roussel is up, so is Eustace. Roussel, it's 2. Newton. That's well done, and that's brilliantly taken. Hunt, good save, Sean Newton makes it 2-2. Chase for Pringle, Shaw across. Gustafsson covering behind, Charlton getting players forward. This is Chris Powell. There's a man over at the back and he made a mess of it, but this is Hunt.
Bill Kenwright loves a bit of drama, and he's decided to invest in it big time with the merry travelling players of Everton. Kenwright has finally realised his dream by buying a majority shareholding in the club he loves.
Unsworth and Hutchison assessing what to do for Everton. It's Unsworth. Oh, and he squeezed it in at the near post. Away from Alexander. Barnby, Campbell. Rushing aside all and sundry, foiled by Moylanen and turned in by Joe Maxmoore.
Another day, another cup. Dave Challoner and his Tranmere teammates are this season's knockout sensation. Whether they'll win a prize in the long haul remains to be seen. But as Fulham discovered, the long hurl remains a potent weapon.
Well, you know what's happening when Tranmere get a throw in, and Challoner has it in his hands. It's going to go into the centre of the penalty area, and that's in by Wayne Allison. Kit Simons has come up, so too has Melville, so too has Coleman. All three of Fulham's central defenders have come forward. Just over the top of Coleman! It's 1-1. This is Morgan, just on as a substitute. Mahan. Here's Parkinson, no flag. Into the middle, surely there's an offside. Fulham look accusingly, but it's David Kelly.
There were 3 second division sides in the FA Cup 5th round, but only Gillingham made it through. Cambridge thought they were on their way when they scored first against First Division Bolton. Trevor Benjamin claiming the goal. Benjamin then became a little entangled. He was brought to ground in rugby fashion by Mike Whitlow. Whitlow was the last man, but rather than take any action against him, the referee awarded the free kick the other way. In the second half, though, Bolton won the tie. The first was a goal from an overhead volley by Bob Taylor. Bolton had just been beaten in the Worthington Cup semi-final, and they weren't going to make it a terrible week. Taylor again with the goal to put Wanderers in front. And the tie was put beyond doubt when Idar Gudjonsson broke the offside trap and beat goalkeeper Sean Marshall to make it 3-1 and into the quarter-finals.
And the 6th round is one step from Wembley. Both semi-finals will be played there this season, and that Bolton-Charlton quarter-final guarantees a nationwide league club a place in the last 4. Well, the game that takes the eye from today's nationwide Division 1 fixtures is 4th place Ipswich away at 3rd place Barnsley, both clubs hoping to climb into the 2nd automatic promotion place. It's only goal difference that keeps Barnsley out of the top 2 at present, and after 3 successive defeats in the end of season playoffs, Ipswich have moved to strengthen their squad and make another concerted push towards the Premiership. Gerald Sinstadt now reports.
If disappointment makes for inner strength and renewed resolution, Ipswich Town should be the strongest, most resolute club in the country. 3 times in 3 seasons they've entered the furnace of the playoffs, 3 times they've been burnt. Sheffield United in 97, Charlton in 98, Bolton in 99. Each time in the semi-final, twice on away goals. George Burley has been manager throughout and has dealt stoically with the consequences of disappointment.
In the last few years, no doubt, we've had to sell 1 or 2 good players, which doesn't make things easier. We sold Kieran Dyer at the start of the season for over £6 million, but at this stage it's great to be able to bring a new face in like Marcus Stewart. We've got 3 very good young strikers, David Johnson, James Colcroft and Richard Naylor, but Marcus is more experienced. He's 27-year-old. His goal record really second to none in virtually all leagues, so I'm thinking I'm bringing a proven goal scorer into the squad who's got a good character and works very hard for the side.
Are they a club that you knew much about before you came?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the history of the club is magnificent. You know, and they got a load of good young players here, and I was looking forward to working with them players, especially the lads up front, who I'll be working with quite often, I should think.
You've probably played against David Johnson before.
Yes, I have, quite a lot of times. You know, he seems to have been around ages. He's only 22, and he's got a tremendous future ahead of him. Let's just hope he stays here and we can forge a partnership ourselves.
Now, you've got to forge a relationship with Marcus. How easy has it been in training?
It was good this morning. Just 2 left-footed players, and we seem to make the same runs. You know, he's a quality finisher, and I'm sure if we can, score a couple each to the end of the season, we'll get ourselves promoted.
If I believe what I read in the papers, you're not going to be here much longer.
Well, it's nice to be linked with all different teams, but I think I've been linked with any team that needs a striker, from Shrewsbury to whoever. But it's nice to be linked, and I think I'll be definitely here to the end of the season, and if we get promoted it's going to be excellent. If we don't get promoted, I'll be back here in the summer, and for the 4th time we'll try and get promoted again, so I'll be happy here.
There's always speculation about players here, and I think it's every player's ambition to play in the Premier League. I'm no different, and obviously that's where I would like to play my football. I feel as though I've got an excellent chance of doing that with Ipswich. I'm actually going to sign a new contract today, so I'm looking forward to the future with Ipswich.
Skipper Matt Holland hasn't missed a game since he signed 2.5 seasons ago. In over 250 senior appearances, he's been booked only twice. Ipswich have had great days in the past, but Holland represents a club focused on future horizons.
Much as the Cobbold stories of no crisis at Ipswich unless white wine runs out in the boardroom and so on, I mean, they make you chuckle, but they do wear a little thin. And I think supporters want to see a lot more ambition than that these days, and certainly I've been prepared to show wear my ambition on my sleeve, and as is everybody else at the club. We're going forward. We'll be as hospitable as anybody before 3 and after 5, but between 3 and 5 we're out to win here, out here on the pitch.
At the end of August, Ipswich scored 6 against Barnsley. Today at Oakwell, it's likely to be less of a formality. Next week it's Huddersfield at home. Charlton away is still to come. But after 15 unbeaten league games, George Burley doesn't contemplate another season of disappointment.
Last season we finished with 86 points. This season we've got to be looking to maybe get 89, 90 for promotion. So that's our goal. It's not going to be easy, but everybody at the club's working very hard, and we're full of confidence to try and do it.
It looks really tight at the top of Division 1. Where would your money go?
Well, I think there are the 5 teams vying for those 2 automatic spots. They've obviously made an early push by signing Marcus Stewart, and don't want to get caught up again in the fact that they're scrapping in the playoffs, 3 consecutive defeats, and hopefully I'd like to say that they'll get promotion this time.
Thanks, Mark. That's just about it. Match of the day will feature action from a fixture list that includes games for all the clubs in the top 6, goals, saves, incidents, interviews. The full story from today's Premiership games, 10:30 on BBC One. If there's any charging conversions, well, the game has changed, hasn't it? Back to Steve in Cardiff.
Thanks very much, Ray. Match of the day tonight, the usual results service through Grandstand.
It continues.